Welcome everyone to Pianoforte Studios. I am Thomas Zolls, your host for the evening, together with Rachel in the recording booth. Pianoforte Studios was created in 2012 to be a haven for piano lovers. And we do this through a piano store we have upstairs where we rent, buy, sell pianos. If you have any piano questions, please ask. Not now, but later. We do it also through this hall where we have concerts like these. We also use it as a recording studio. Tonight we're recording. We very frequently live stream for the On-Stage, Off-Stage series that we are very thrilled to partner with. Just so you know, this building was built in 1906 and was part of Motor Row, and they made auto parts in it. And so we converted the inside into what you see today. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Angela Yoffe, the grand organizer and director of the North Shore Chamber Music Festival, and Vadim Glusman, the artistic director of the North Shore Chamber Music Festival. Welcome.
Hello, everyone here at Pianoforte Chicago and everyone around the world. We're honored to present a tribute to legendary violinist Henrik Schering at our North Shore Chamber Music Festival Masters of Past, Present, and Future series.
Classical music, or any art, is about tradition. And the idea of this series is to show the link between, as we say, past, present, and the future by honoring great masters of the past with performances of established artists and our brilliant new talents that have graced our stages already for a few years now, and many more are hopefully to come. Henrik Schering undoubtedly is one of the greatest violinists, musicians ever lived. Someone who led an extraordinary life, being born in Poland in 1918. He became part of the Polish government in exile during the Second World War, made his way to Mexico with 2,000 of Polish refugees. His talents were used not as a musician, not as a violinist, but as a translator. He spoke 8 languages. And he made Mexico his second home. He became a Mexican citizen. Later on, he was honored with the title of the cultural ambassador of Mexico to the world. He traveled on diplomatic passport, returned to Europe, and through his concerts, through his involvement in lives of so many young musicians, through his philanthropic work on behalf of a great number of musical arts organizations throughout the world, he changed lives in a very profound way. And we hope to continue this kind of work with the North Shore Chamber Music Festival. And to finish this speech, which is already going for too long, I want to read a quote that was brought to my attention by a friend very recently, a quote by Henrik Schering. "I consider music as the noblest language, bringing comfort, joy, inspiration, and peace to mankind. I think that it is vital that peace be preserved, and if music can help, then let's have music." Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to say hello and to welcome everyone, and most importantly, to welcome a very special person in my life. This is Mrs. Waltraud Schering. We have known each other for decades by now, and I am a very proud laureate of Henrik Schering Award in 1994, which was given to me by the Schering Foundation, led by Mrs. Schering. It basically started my career, and ever since we have been extremely close on many levels. And the involvement of Mrs. Schering in my life personally simply cannot be overestimated. But today we're talking about Henrik Schering. We are remembering a great artist, a great person, humanitarian, someone who has influenced an enormous amount of lives. And we all know his artistry, we know his recordings. Some of us are still fortunate enough to have attended his concerts. Unfortunately, I cannot count myself among them. But there are certain sides of his life that are not known to general public, and I would like to ask Mrs. Schering maybe to share some of it with us, please.
With pleasure. Everybody knows that Henrik Schering, or most probably everybody knows that Henrik Schering put a great point in helping others who were in need, charity all over the world, and during all his life, started as a young artist, even shortly before the outbreak of World War II. He did this even when he himself had to turn around each and every penny because his income was meager, especially after he emigrated from Europe to South America in the beginning 1943. So in order to improve his meager income, he played the violin not on stage, but in publicity spots, such as for Coca-Cola, for instance, or he doubled in movies the actors who played the violin. So he doubled them, especially in the movie Letters from a Stranger, based on a novel by Stefan Zweig, or in The White Knights of St. Petersburg, based on Tolstoy's novel Kreutzer Sonata. And when he couldn't earn some extra money through violin playing, he played the piano. And that was during his years in Mexico. So he could be found around midnight in one of the most fashionable hotels in Mexico City, sitting at the piano and playing Gershwin, Cole Porter, swing, blues, rumba, samba, what have you. And the money he earned through this, he immediately shared it afterwards during a sumptuous dinner with, if possible, a beautiful young lady. And then he found himself empty pocket again. But he didn't care. For him, it was just the joy of the moment to share something. He helped, of course, mostly through his concert activities. And outstanding is one of the concert he gave in Canada it was in the 1940s also. And he played for the Canadian Army with a brass band. And he played Bach and Paganini. It was a big success, and the conductor was very happy, of course. And he asked, well, Mr. Schering, can't you come back? And he said, of course I can. could you possibly play the Beethoven concerto? And he said, of course I can, let's fix a date. And next to him was Gilles Lefebvre. At this, he was the president of the Canadian Arts Council, and he had initiated this concert. And he said, oh my goodness. So he had to rearrange the music according to a brass band. And he said, he reminisced on this, and he said, I remember how heavy our transcription of the second movement was. And I shall never forget the ghastly effect of the wood players responding to the soloist's song. So that was a special concert, I think, which nobody knows of, probably. Charity for him was also helping artists, young violinists. More than once he offered a violin to a young violinist who needed a better instrument than, or he deserved a better instrument than the one he had or she had, like Shlomo Mintz, for example. I also witnessed him taking out of his case twice an extremely valuable percut bow and handing it over as a spontaneous gift to an orchestra leader, once in Israel and once in Zagreb. A long list of violins out of his possession also went to orchestras, conservatories, music schools, and so on and so on. And his famous Stradivari Hercules is still singing in Tel Aviv, Israel, and his Andrea Guarnerius in Mexico. So this is a side of Henrik Schering which is partly known, partly less known. He himself, he was a student of Gabriel Bouillon and Jacques Thibault, and essentially Karl Flesch. And he understood how important it is to get a good education. So he started very young to follow his desire to share and to transmit what he himself had benefited from. He was 20 only when he had his first professorship in Paris. And then later in Mexico City, he reorganized the Mexican Violin School, and Geneva, the university, the conservatory where he gave master classes regularly until the end of his life.
This is absolutely fascinating. And I have to say, as much as I know about Henrik Schering, some of the facts were new to me. This is absolutely wonderful. He always fascinated me, well, of course, only through his recordings, as in the best possible, in the best meaning of the word, as the most organized of artists. In terms of his musical vision, his understanding of the score, of the structure of the piece, and at the same time never losing the spiritual aspect of what music essentially is, what it does to people. How do you think this was possible?
Well, I think this was because of his discipline and his unceasing search for perfection. I mean, he wanted to be perfect, but not because he wanted to be perfect. He wanted to be perfect in his interpretation to serve the composer. So he was always looking, he put the composer in the front of the stage, and he himself was in the back, and he was just the humble translator of trying to translate properly, so to speak, what the composer wanted. He also was a defender of tolerance, respect, and good manners, and never hesitated to correct openly and directly those who lacked it. That was very fast and very severe, and when he saw that the person in front of him understood, there came a huge smile, and all was in order. So I must say, what I experienced in the years I shared with Henrik Schering and how I witnessed his life led me quite naturally to the only thing I wanted to do after his sudden and unduly passing. Continue in the sense he gave to his life, helping and sharing. So the idea of the Henrik Schering Foundation was born. I wanted to help young violinists at the beginning of their career. So I parted with the last violin that was left, the Guarnerius de Jesus. And for once, it should not benefit only one person, but several young violinists were future recipients of the Henrik Schering Foundation Award. Created in 1991, the foundation gave its third award to a young Israeli with obvious potential, but who still needed a strong and reassuring hand to lead him his first steps on stage. This hand belonged to a charming and determined young lady, great pianist, warm human being. Fortunately for all of us, he never let go this hand nor the young lady. That's why we are all today together here and reminiscence of the past that lives on in the presence. Thanks to the two of them, Angela and Vadim, who merged the legacy of Arkady Fomin and Henrik Schering into a work of charity, musical delight, and many prolific human encounters. Thank you very much for this, and thank you for letting me be part of it.
Mrs. Schering, thank you for being with us, for your absolutely inspiring words. And we shall continue with music, as always.
Good idea. Thanks.
Programming this concert was probably one of the easiest decision-making processes for us. Because when you dedicate a concert to an artist of this grandeur, you look for repertoire that he was particularly famous for a niche that he filled. Schering filled at everything. His repertoire took him from Baroque music all the way to modern. He premiered modern works that were written for him. And if there was one composer that we would name under a gun, it would be Johann Sebastian Bach. His recordings of Bach's works for solo violin until today are absolutely the staple of every music lover's collection. This is something we as violinists, we as musicians look up to the pristine nobility of his playing, of purity of purpose. And of course, this is something we'll be always looking up to. And we thought there is no better way to celebrate that side of Schering, but to ask our young artist to play arguably the greatest work that Bach has ever written, and this is the Chaconne for violin solo. But we will start with a little prequel to that.
Good evening. My name is Julian Rhee. I'm an Arkady Folman Scholarship recipient from 2020, and it's really a pleasure to be back here on this stage. I was last here over a year and a half ago when the pandemic first started. This was actually the first performance I gave since the pandemic had begun over a year and a half ago. It's a pretty special place. So as any young violinist, I listened to a lot of recordings growing up, but a lot of my attention was generally moving toward modern day players. And for some reason, I hadn't really listened to a lot of old school or past performers until I remember specifically I discovered Henrik Schering's recording of Wieniawski Scherzo and Tarantella. And about a minute into the piece, there's this incredible melody, and within 5 seconds, I was totally sold. And he was the introduction for me into listening to performers like Heifetz and Milstein and so on and so forth. And really the starting point for me in terms of really critically analyzing the kind of sound that I was producing. So the Bach Chaconne, again, very humbling, but slightly intimidating to play after putting that up. That's Vadim and Angela's fault. I will put them under the bus for that. That was a bit scary. But the Bach Chaconne, I think, brings out this regal composure that he has. And the next piece we're going to perform brings out the aspect of him that I think really drew me into him in the first place, which is this warmth and this generosity. I think the Habanera, which he arranged, really captures the whole spirit of this event, which is celebrating the kind of all-enveloping essence of Henrik Schering. So it's really an honor to be a part of that legacy. So enjoy.
It's time to let the maestro take the stage. This was the most difficult, to choose from the wealth of recordings and repertoire that he has left after himself. Thankfully, we have so much. We will watch a recording of Henrik Schering playing Josef Suk love song. in the conversation with Mrs. Schering, you heard the stories of Henrik Schering spontaneously or in a very much planned way, giving away his instruments, be it to Israel Philharmonic or to young Shlomo Mintz or to Mexican National Orchestra. The list goes on and on. And this tradition is also continuing, and there is a wonderful organization in Chicago called the Stradivari Society, of which I've been a recipient for many years now, and many years. And we are very happy to welcome Julian to our roster. Julian now plays gorgeous violin built by Antonio Stradivari in 1699, Lady Tennant. We have our friends from the Stradivari Society with us. Hi. This is an organization that allowed many artists find their voice in literal way, and we're of course very grateful. And we will end with a dessert.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks to all the people around the world who tuned to this concert. We hope you will follow our website and come to our future events. We also really hope you will help our young generation, very talented musicians. We're wishing you happy holidays and hope to see you with us very soon. Be well.